Just when you thought you could turn your back and walk away, the dark cloud of human indignity follows you. You have no choice but to turn and look it in the eye. It's the sex offender hit list.
A former Cartersville youth pastor, there's a lot of these guys tonight, Christopher Matthew Cotting, 44-year-old, pleaded guilty this week to molesting two young boys who attended his church, the Caseville Baptist Church. Court records show that Cotting penetrated the anal cavity of two approximately 10-year-old boys between 2012 and 2017. These alleged acts began when the child was just 10 years old. Cotting will be sentenced to up to 19 years in prison, followed by 60 years of probation. Hope he slips up on that. A final prison sentence will be handed down on May 16th. Cotting pled guilty to 2 counts of felony child molestation and 1 count of sodomy. See ya, Chomo. A former Winchester and Berryville police officer, accused of molesting a teenager and producing child sexual abuse material, could face up to 5 years in prison after he pleaded no contest Tuesday in Winchester Circuit Court to 3 charges of taking indecent liberties with a child under the age of 15. Doesn't make any sense to me, as you'll soon see. This is 63-year-old Joseph Edward Adams. He was potentially facing more than 120 years in prison after 2 separate Winchester Circuit Court grand juries in December of 22 and a January of 23 indicted him on a total of 9 felonies. 2 counts of unlawfully filming or photographing a fully or partially nude child without the victim's consent. Well, of course, they can't consent anyway. 2 counts of producing child sexual abuse material, and 3 counts of taking indecent liberties with a child. What I don't understand here is, how do you go from 120 years all the way down to 5 years? I mean, is it because he's a policeman or something? Adams was first arrested on the indecent liberties charges back in June of 22, but was granted a $25,000 unsecured bond and then released from custody 2 days later. On October 12th of 22, he was arrested again for the child sexual abuse material charges. Totally separate charges. Still, where they just give him a plea deal and, hope that he gets 5 years? I really don't understand this. I'd like to say see ya, Chomo, but it's going to be on the streets.
Yeah, my mother told me there'd be days like this.
A Middle Georgia man who worked with the Bibb County School District was sentenced to 50 years in prison after pleading guilty to child molestation charges earlier this month. 55-year-old Charles Jackson pleaded guilty in Bibb Superior Court to charges of child molestation, enticing a child for indecent purposes, and sexual contact by a person in a position of trust. Those charges stem from a 2022 incident when Jackson took advantage of a young victim multiple times at school as well as a local church. The Macon Bibb District Attorney's Office says Jackson took advantage of his student's vulnerability after she was previously molested by her father. So, he sucked up to her, groomed her, and then he molested her himself. Just totally sickening individual here. Jackson was then sentenced to 50 years, with the first 25 to be served in prison, and he will be required to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life, if he makes it out of prison. See ya, Chomo. Got a lot of these guys from Indiana. Here's another one. This guy's from Greenwood. He was sentenced to 30 years on Thursday after he pled guilty to 4 counts of child molestation. This is from the Johnson County Prosecutor's Office. William Adams, a 50-year-old, received a sentence of 32 years. 24 executed, 6 years on each count at the Indiana Department of Corrections, and 8 years suspended, 2 years on each count to active probation. Officials say that all of the victims and their parents appeared for the sentencing hearing, and 2 of them bravely read victim impact statements that they had written. Adams had no prior convictions, though hardly any of these chomos do unless it's for another chomo offense, and he actually cooperated with the investigation. A person who molests children must be locked up for a long, long time. This is how we keep our little ones safe from predators. See ya, chomo.
I'm gonna give you solitary confinement for 99 years.
Allen County, Indiana. The Fort Wayne police there arrested a man accused by the victim of sexually abusing them. The police say Alex Arnold, a 52-year-old, turned himself in to the Allen County Jail. A warrant had been issued for his arrest after the completion of the investigation, which documents say acts were done during the period of time between March 1st of 2020 and April 2nd of 2023. Police found Arnold sitting in his car at the Salamone Reservoir in Huntington County with a gun, threatening to shoot himself. The Huntington sheriff and deputies detained Arnold for a mental health emergency, according to the investigators. Arnold faces charges of child molesting, child solicitation, and dissemination of matter harmful to minors. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Police arrested a man who was facing multiple child molestation charges. On March 26th of 22, a family met with police officers to accuse Luis Angel Mondragon Alcantara, a 24-year-old, of molesting 2 minors. Police say 2 children reported being molested by Alcantara several years ago when he was a minor himself. Alcantara is now an adult, several years older than the victims. He was arrested just after noon today at a residence on Cass Street. Alcantara faces 3 counts of child molesting, which are Class B felonies, 2 counts of child molesting, Class C felonies, 3 counts of child molesting, Level 3 felonies, and 2 counts of child molesting, Level 4 felonies. So he's all over the book in these, in these cases. Hopefully we'll get some years out of this chomo.
Now get in there!
South Carolina. A Camden man is accused of distributing and possessing child sexual abuse material, according to the Office of the Attorney General there. Derek Pettis, 22-year-old. He's charged with 4 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, 2nd degree, and 11 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force investigators and the Camden Police Department made that arrest. Investigators with the Attorney General's Office, the Kershaw County Sheriff's Office, Homeland Security Investigations, and the U.S. Secret Service, as well as members of the state's ICAC task force, assisted in the investigation. Officials say investigators received a cyber tip line report from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which led them to Pettis. Investigators then said Pettis distributed and possessed files of child sexual abuse material. He was arrested on April 18th, and he faces 10 years imprisonment for each count that he's charged with. We're going to head down to Phoenix, Arizona, where a Georgia man was sentenced to life in prison on Thursday for child sex crimes, according to the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office there. Dennis Evan Carraher, a 59-year-old, abused 2 children whose family he was friends with. One of his victims was just 7 years old. A judge sentenced Carraher to spend life in prison for sexually abusing a minor under the age of 12. Additionally, a judge sentenced him to serve a consecutive 17 years in prison for molestation of a child under the age of 15. I have a zero tolerance for anyone who abuses a child, the County Attorney District Attorney Dennis McGrain said in a press release. This life sentence sends a strong message to child molesters that they will be aggressively prosecuted and punished if they victimize children in Yavapai County. The younger child eventually reported that abuse, prompting the Yavapai, I get confused when I say that, the County Sheriff's Office, how about that? A jury in Yavapai County found Carraher guilty of sexual conduct with a minor under 12 and molestation of a child on March 26th, and he was just recently sentenced. The guy looks like that old 1930s gangster Bugsy something, don't he? See you, Bugsy-looking chomo.
Let me out of here! Let me out of here!
Now we've got this googly, fish-eyed looking chomo over here. He's a facilities technician at Newmarket Junior Senior High School. He's been arrested for 5 counts of possession of child sexual abuse images. Newmarket police said in a Facebook post that they received information last week about an incident of possession of child sexual abuse material that may have occurred in their city. Police said a person of interest was identified through a joint effort with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, as well as the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force, and the Rockingham County Attorney's Office and local law enforcement. It's pretty nice when they can all just work together and find out who these chomos are and how to arrest them. So police sought and obtained a search warrant for the individual and items related to that investigation. And then on Friday, the Newmarket police said Devin E. Chick, a 37-year-old of Newmarket, was taken into custody and charged with 5 counts of possession of child sexual abuse material. Chick was released on a $2,500 cash bail. That's kind of, that makes me mad. He's scheduled to be arraigned June 20th at Brentwood District Court. $2,500. Are you kidding me? Let's head over to Oklahoma for this one. An Idabel man was charged in McCurtain County with no bond for sexually abusing 2 children and producing child sexual abuse material. Court records there show that Robert Groven, 51-year-old, recorded some of the alleged acts of abuse that reported happening over a span of 9 years. Prosecutors are going to most likely charge him with continuous sexual abuse of a minor. Groven faces up to life in prison if convicted of that offense. Not much else is known about this chomo, but you can be sure that when it becomes available, you'll be able to find it right here first on the sex offender hit list. See ya, chomo!
I'd like to know what dirty stool pigeon squealed on me.
Idaho. The Boise Police Department were made aware of a suspect who sent child sexual abuse material to an undercover account online in November of last year. The Boise police and partner agencies began a lengthy investigation and identified this chomo, 29-year-old Terry Ellinger, as the suspect in Boise. The Boise police obtained a search warrant then and served it on April 24th, and during that search, officers also found illegal drugs, scales, and baggies along with the child sexual abuse material. Following further investigation, Ellinger was arrested and booked into the Ada County Jail on 1 felony charge of distribution of sexually exploitive material and 1 felony charge of controlled substance with intent to deliver. Well, he got delivered right to the county jail. See ya, chomo. We're going to head over to Virginia, where we're going to find 35-year-old Thomas Cervantes. He's from Virginia Beach, and he just got sentenced to 35 years in prison on Friday. Well, he got found guilty of producing child sexual abuse material, coercing minors. He used social media platforms to manipulate victims into sending sexually explicit content, so pretty much sextortion. Cervantes was found to have shared a video on social media of himself assaulting a minor also. And in another instance, he offered money to a minor to try and convince her to send a sexually explicit video of herself. And when she was reluctant, he threatened to send the images that she had sent him to her family members if she refused. Cervantes enticed and coerced a number of additional minors, and he pled guilty to his charges on November 29th of last year, and he was finally sentenced Friday to 35 golden years with no chance of parole. See ya, chomo.
Yeah, my mother told me there'd be days like this.
Happy birthday, dear Ellie.
Now, Ellie, remember, this is our special secret.
Okay, Uncle Jim.
1 in 5 children is sexually abused before they turn 18.
Make a wish, but remember, it's a secret.
Do you know the signs?
I just want everyone to go home.
Learn more about the risks of child sexual abuse at sapria.org.
When a child experiences trauma, they can be stripped of their ability to imagine. But imagination is colors. All the colors. Imagination is freedom. And whatever you want it to be. But a child without imagination is not a child at all. Will you help defend our right to imagine?
Bryden, you're right. It's a step in the right direction.